The Siberian taiga stretches for many kilometers and keeps secrets not only of antiquity, but also of our days. There are a lot of mysteries and paranormal things connected with this territory. For hundreds of years, it was a shelter for such peoples as the Yukaghirs, Samoyeds, Nivkhs, Tunguses, Itelmens, and others. Ancient tribes worshipped idols and practiced shamanism, which left an indelible mark on the energy of this place. Over the centuries, incomprehensible things have happened in the Siberian taiga that no scientist in the world can still explain. The mystery of the woman warrior from the Altai Mountains. In early 1993, archaeologists conducted excavations on the border of Mongolia and the Altai Mountains. They were researching the history of an ancient tribe and did not expect to find anything unusual. One day they came across the body of a girl. It would seem that what could be strange in a simple mummy, of which there are hundreds in the area. But what they found there turned out to be a real tragedy for the ordinary inhabitants of the area. Deep in the cave under a layer of ice was the body of a young woman. According to preliminary data, she died in the 3rd century BC. At the time of her death, she was approximately 25 to 26 years old. The girl had been buried with all the honors due to a representative of a noble family. Next to her lay jewels and the skeletons of horses in full harness. At first glance it appeared to be a descendant of one of the local landowners, but experienced scholars were confused by the fact that the woman belonged to none of the Mongoloid races that had inhabited the area during her lifetime. She was dressed in robes of fine silk, and in her hands she held a rod, which was a symbol of the creation of the universe. It was only placed in the grave of those who were related to the higher spiritual strata of society. Opinions differed. Who was she? A princess? A priestess? Or could she be a warrior? After all, she was wearing a belt that only warriors wore. The only way to find out was through laboratory research. Upon learning of the find, representatives of communities that live in the Altai asked archaeologists not to touch the burial and leave the deceased alone. But scientists did not listen to the natives and decided to send the body to Moscow for examination. After the mummy was packed up and transported out of Altai, something unexplainable started to happen in the mountains. At first, there was a strong earthquake, which was followed by a sharp deterioration in weather conditions. It started raining endlessly, all crops were washed away, animals died, and the locals really panicked, as they might find themselves without food. The rains were replaced by a severe drought, and those who ordered the removal of the body of the Altai princess were blamed for the misfortunes. The leaders of the local tribes wrote a mass petition to the state leaders and asked that the mummy be returned to the Altai Mountains, as it was a legacy of their culture. Their request was granted and the princess was returned. From the moment it was brought to the territory of Siberia, all misfortune ceased. But what did the research show? Therein lies the main mystery. Scientists from Moscow were never able to establish the cause of death of the woman, as she was missing some internal organs, including the brain. They also failed to decipher the patterns and tattoos that covered her body. However, they succeeded in studying her DNA. According to the results of tests, Altai princess belongs to the European population, presumably the ancient Germans. How she got to Siberia is still unknown, as well as why her absence caused terrible natural disasters. The locals called the woman Princess Kaden and consider her a priestess who willingly gave her life to protect the Altai Mountains from evil spirits. Today she rests in the National Museum in Gorno-Altysk. She was placed in a special vacuum capsule, and anyone can look at her. A strange unidentified object in the sky over Siberia. 5 years before the discovery of the Kaden warrior princess, late at night Russian radars recorded an unidentified object that flew in the sky over the Siberian taiga. The dispatcher sent several requests and demanded that the flying machine provide information about itself. No message was received in response. In accordance with the law, Russian anti-aircraft defenses fired a surface-to-air missile at it, which resulted in the UFO being shot down. Early in the morning, a special search party of 25 military personnel was sent to investigate. Further story has several variants. One version says that the reconnaissance party found parts of an unidentified flying machine around which were still alive creatures the size of small foxes. At the sight of the military, the humanoids held hands and a dome of light appeared around them, which abruptly flashed and disappeared along with the aliens. The UFO remains were collected by a reconnaissance team and taken to a military laboratory. The media did not report the results of the investigation. According to the second version, there were not living creatures around the flying machine fragments but their bodies. This version of the story is more plausible, because after the impact with the missile it is unlikely anyone could have survived. There was even news in the press that the military brought alien tissue samples to the base, but what their research showed is still unknown. Supposedly they were classified and kept in the state military archive. Journalists could not stay quietly where they were and greedily grabbed the trivial information they were given by the press service of the Russian military defense. Some of them went on personal searches and managed to collect eyewitness accounts of the event. Here is one of the recollections of a resident of a village over which an unidentified object flew over. That evening I was outside and suddenly felt that something strange was happening around me. The dogs started getting nervous, growling, barking and trying to hide in the enclosure. Above my head I heard some kind of noise, reminiscent of a quietly running motorcycle. When I looked up, I saw an oval, silvery object moving very fast north. I didn't have time to get a good look, because suddenly the object exploded over the forest behind our village. Of course, I didn't go to see what it was, and in the morning the military came to us asking if anyone had seen anything strange. I remained silent and decided not to say anything. It was only later, a week later, that I found out that a UFO had been shot down over our village. We still do not know the exact information about what happened, but maybe in the near future the data about this event will be declassified and people will know the truth about what really happened to the aliens and their ship. Many people of Siberia, a new underground civilization? Many have probably heard that in 1925 in Europe found a network of intricate underground mazes, the height of which does not exceed 70 centimeters. These passages stretch for hundreds of kilometers, and many say that they belong to the dwarves. In Russia, this news was treated skeptically, because elves, gnomes and fairies are all fairy tales for children. But soon these incredulous people will face a similar phenomenon, but already in our country, namely in the Siberian taiga. In 1995 a speleologist from Perm went on an expedition to the taiga. He did not set a specific goal to find something special. He was going to explore a network of caves in the Altai Mountains, but because of what he managed to find, he could not finish what he started. By a fortuitous coincidence, he fell underground near Mount Kaitanul. The hole he fell into was not of natural origin, as it had a rectangular shape and flat walls. Most likely it was some kind of room, but what it was for and who made it, the man did not know. After several unsuccessful attempts to get upstairs, the speleologist began to look for other solutions to his problem. First of all, he began to explore the walls. After feeling one side of the room, he found a stone that he was able to push away. The man struggled to squeeze through the passage, as he had a rather bulky backpack with equipment hanging on his back, and the height of the corridor was so low that he had to walk in a half-bent position. As he traveled down this underground passage, he noticed that its floor was sprinkled with sand and carefully trampled. There were holes in the walls, presumably for torches. And with that, fresh air was constantly blowing in from somewhere. After 40 minutes of travel, the man found himself on the slope of a small mountain from which it would be very easy to descend. Of course, he wanted to explore this underground labyrinth more thoroughly, but to do so he needed other equipment and the help of someone of his colleagues. He didn't go back down but simply marked the tunnel entrance spot on the map. But he was not destined to get there again. A few days later, an earthquake occurred in the Altai Mountains, bringing down the vaults in the underground passages and filling them up. However, the speleologist doubts that it was a whim of nature. He thinks that someone purposely did not want the man to return there. That is why the passages were hastily filled in and hidden from view. In addition to the above-mentioned mysteries, which hide the vastness of the Siberian taiga, there are many more mysterious things, such as who built the Altai pyramids, what is happening around the fall of the Tunguska meteorite, and where one of the participants in the geological expedition led by Vladimir Dubchenko disappeared. We have yet to find answers to all this, but will they be safe for us? If you are interested, do not be lazy, give me a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more interesting videos on my channel. Hit bell to notify me and share this video with your friends. What else interesting things can you add to this video? Write in the comments, it will be interesting to read.